A delegation group from Utah recently spent a week-long trip to Canada with the goal that it will prove fruitful with its close trading partner.
Canada is number 2 when it comes to where Utah sends its goods. So we are joined by former Senator and Ambassador Jeff Flake to discuss the importance of keeping a good business relationship with Canada. Senator, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me on.
Hey, what was the main goal of this trip? Can you talk about that?
Well, to ensure that the ties that we have, strong ties with Canada, continue, and to explain that regardless of what the politics are in Washington regarding tariffs and trade, at the subnational level with the state of Utah, we are open for business here. And Governor Cox was obviously the head of the delegation. He did an incredible job explaining the benefits to investing in Utah, trading with Utah. And there's a lot going on and much more potential as well.
So what were the discussions like?
Well, there were two main topics. Critical minerals. Utah has, I think, 40 of the 50 critical minerals that have been designated as critical. And Canada has a lot of those as well. We went to one company, for example, that takes some of the tailings from the Kennecott mine, ships them to Canada, processes them, ships them back to St. George, and then puts them into solar panels. So there's a lot of interesting things that boy, a lot of us had no idea were going on, and there's a lot more potential as well. Also in AI, Canada is doing a lot. Some of the universities there, University of Ontario in particular, doing a lot with AI, and so are we here in Utah.
Were there any details on new deals or partnerships that you could talk about that were struck between Utah and Canada?
Well, certainly connections were made there, and I suspect that there will be partnerships, investments that come out of this, certainly. It was a lot of goodwill there. I had a wonderful meeting with the Premier of Ontario, Doug Ford, who's been very close to the U.S. He mentioned that if Ontario were its own state or country, it would be the third largest trading partner of Utah, when Canada is the second. So there's a lot of trade that goes on, and much more potential, as I mentioned. We also went to a hockey game to watch the Canadians play the Red Wings, and they're awfully excited for the Utah Hockey Club, and so that's another tie as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so how can Utah and Canada continue to work better with its economic relationship?
Well, Utah obviously is the fastest growing state. Economy is doing better than virtually any other state, and that's realized and known in Canada. So obviously those ties will continue. At the university level, research. There's also a biotech. I didn't mention that. A lot of connections there that are going on and can continue and improve. So I suspect that in the coming weeks and months, you'll see these contacts that were made during that trade delegation, that trade mission, blossom. And so there's a lot of potential, particularly when you have increased tariffs on China, on critical minerals, for example. If those, if that trade is not secure, then it even, improves the odds that we're going to be working with Canada on critical minerals, both to extract and to process. And so that's an area that really is ripe for cooperation.
You mentioned tariffs. We have to mention that the relationship between Canada and the U.S., it's been strained recently by some of what's coming out of the Trump administration. They talked about Canada being the 51st state. There was talk of tariffs on Canada, debatable about where they are right now. So how does all of that impact this mission with you?
Well, they know that they have a friend in Utah, and they realize that that Canada is a true partner of the U.S. Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, even stated, he said, there is no more patriotic American than this Canadian. And we felt that throughout, at the hockey game and everywhere else. Canada loves America and vice versa. And so this trade relationship will continue. It's a bit strained with some of the rhetoric, but that's just rhetoric. And at the subnational level in particular, between Utah and Canada, these ties are really strong.
And your thoughts on the tariff strategy right now?
Well, obviously, uncertainty is the enemy of economic growth. So the faster we can move on and get some regime in place that businesses can count on, the better. Obviously, I think all of us want as free a trade as possible. And our country has benefited significantly from the trade relationship, the free trade agreements that we've had with Canada and with Mexico and with most of the world. The faster we can return to a system where we have as free a trade as possible, the better for the United States and better for the whole world.
All right. Former Arizona Senator Jeff Flake now doing work on behalf of Utah and Canada and that close trading relationship. We appreciate you joining us this morning to talk about all of this.
Yeah.
You bet.
Yeah,
Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate the insight there. Thanks a lot for being with us.